The National Statistics Council was installed on Wednesday by the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance Ayman bin Abdurrahman. It is made up of 42 members representing different components of the National Statistical Information System. The Council will be responsible for issuing recommendations on the National Statistical Information Policy defined by the government and establishing, along with proposing, a program comprising the surveys and statistical work planned for the coming year and likely to benefit from statistical recording. The Council also ensures within the framework of the program adopted by the government, supporting and operating the different mechanisms of the statistical system. The installation of the Council on October the 20th, coinciding with the World Statistics Day, reflects the state's interest in the national statistics system, and such interest stems from a deep conviction to its role in the success of the ambitious development and recovery program. This initiative is also based on our belief that reforms depend on the quality of the national statistical system and its efficiency. Based on this principle, the reform of this system represents one of the most important commitments of the program of the President of the Republic, who instructed the government to create a national network for collecting statistics in order to consolidate the reliability of data and social-economic indicators, in order to confer more effectiveness and efficiency to the actions of public authorities and to the reforms to be implemented. To fulfill these commitments, the government's action plan includes an ambitious program in this sense, which provides for the reinstating of the National Statistics Council after being inactive for so many years. The Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, affirmed on this occasion that the implementation of the National Statistics Council is one of the main mechanisms to complete the process of structural reforms initiated by the government.
The
government will rely a lot on the National Statistics Council, with its executives and their long experience in carrying out deep structural reforms in this field. It is high time that information took back its due importance, as it is necessary to think of the operation of regulation and of a mechanism which makes it necessary for information producers, whether public or private operators, to produce credible and verified information and make it available to all those who need it in order to improve decision-making at all levels of the state, with a positive impact on the whole society as well as Algeria's national development. I would like to reaffirm the will of the government to move forward in setting up an effective national statistics system up within the government action plan to implement the instructions of the President of the Republic. To this end, and within this framework of consultation, all stakeholders are immediately required to establish a national strategy for the development of statistics, with reference to the various statistical operations carried out, which have remained neglected for years, thus depriving the country's higher authorities of hundreds of useful and crucial development indicators. For his part, the Minister of Digitization and Statistics, Hussein Sharhabil, had this to say. The Digitization Ministry has worked to strengthen the local statistical network, particularly through the creation of a digital platform dedicated to this operation, in order to ensure the appropriate and real-time use of statistical data collected at the local level by the higher authorities. Finally, I reiterate the commitment of our department to coordinate with all sectors and statistical systems.
وزارة الرقمنة والإحصائيات
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ramadan Al-Amamra, received on Wednesday Professor Mohammed Bil-Hussein, the newly elected Commissioner in charge of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation at the African Union. In a statement to the press, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ramadan Al-Amamra, said that the election of Professor Mohammed Bil-Hussein as Commissioner in charge of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation at the African Union, or AU, reflects the respect that African countries have for Algeria. He added that this victory shows the recognition of the skills and qualities of Professor Bil-Hussein, who was recommended for this position by President Abdelmajid Tebboune, following which the Algerian diplomacy carried out the required diplomatic action for his promotion and election. Furthermore, Ramadan Al-Amamra said that Professor Bil-Hussein will be relied on to hoist the Algerian flag through his skills in leadership, innovation and coordination under the AU to remain committed to the Constitution's principles and objectives. For his part, Professor Mohammed Bil-Hussein, the newly elected commissioner, expressed his gratitude to Algeria, namely the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, for the confidence placed in him to carry Algeria's interests domestically and internationally. He also thanked Ramadan Al-Amamra, who granted him this opportunity and mobilized our diplomatic corps for several months to achieve this success. Professor Bil-Hussein also thanked the member states that supported his election, pledging to be worthy of the confidence placed in him and overcome the challenges facing the African continent in terms of education, technology, science and innovation.
التربية والعلوم والتكنولوجيا والابتكار.
The Higher Education Minister Abdelbaki bin Ziyane and the Ambassador of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland in Algeria, Sharon Ann Wardle, signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Wednesday in Algiers. The aforementioned memorandum pertains to the creation of a joint Algerian-British Commission for Scientific Research to strengthen the exchange of knowledge and experiences between the two countries, while encouraging Algerian students to better understand English as a language and a culture. This initiative is part of the implementation of the Sectoral Action Plan 2021-2024, dealing with major issues and allowing for a multidimensional qualitative transition in terms of scientific research and technological development. For her part, Sharon Ann Wardle expressed her country's desire to enhance bilateral cooperation so as to exchange expertise and experience while boosting student mobility between the two countries.
A real snub for Morocco following the decision of the American Congress to block the former U.S. President Donald Trump's move to open a consulate in the occupied city of Dakhla in Western Sahara. The U.S. Senate committee in charge of budgetary allocations has just approved a bill prohibiting the use of funds allocated to Western Sahara under American aid to open a consulate in the occupied Sahrawi city of Dakhla. According to the American federal government's draft budget for the year 2022, none of the funds made available to the State Department by this law or previous laws may be used for the construction of a United States consulate in Western Sahara. The text also specifies that these funds will only be used to assist and aid Western Sahara, as well as support for diplomatic efforts to facilitate a political settlement to the conflict in this territory. It is worth mentioning that the Biden administration has pledged to actively support the efforts made by the UN new Secretary General, Personal Envoy for Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura, to promote a peaceful and prosperous future for the people of Western Sahara and the region. According to the president of the Algerian National Committee of Solidarity with the Sahrawi people, Saïd Ayashi, who was a guest at the evening news in Canal, Algérie, it is a logical return of the American position towards a principle of international legality concerning the settlement of the Western Sahara issue, and also reaffirms the position of the U.S. Congress, especially the Senate.
The lifting of the partial lockdown measures throughout the national territory for the upcoming 21 days as for Wednesday, with the renewal of measures applicable to ordinary and weekly markets to ensure compliance with the preventive health measures and the enforcement of the penalties under existing regulations. The extension of the barrier measures throughout the national territory for all types of public and family gatherings, particularly the celebration of marriages and other events. Algeria hosted the proceeding of the 4th General Assembly for the African Mechanism for Police Cooperation on Wednesday via video conferencing under chairmanship of the General Director of the National Security, Farid Ben Sheikh, devoted to examining the means of strengthening law enforcement agencies' cooperation in fighting cross-border organized crime, according to a press release from the General Directorate of the National Security. The participants highlighted the particular interest and unconditional support of Algeria to the African Criminal Police Organization, or AFRIPOL.